What happens when a global superstar quietly rises as a national hero? Why did Taehyung cry after a mysterious phone call last week? And what did Jungkook say in a private message that shocked even the military officers? Something extraordinary has been unfolding behind the rigid gates of South Korea's military base, and the world is only just beginning to find out on a chilled morning in early April, as the mist still lingered above the foothills of the military base nestled somewhere in Gangwon Province. A senior instructor quietly walked into the commander's office with a file in his hand. He didn't speak right away, only placed the folder on the table with a seriousness that suggested something significant had just occurred. Inside the folder was the training evaluation report of one soldier, a name familiar to millions, yet lately shrouded in the silence of service. Park Jimin. His report was glowing. Beyond glowing. In fact, it was so exceptional that it was passed up the chain of command with a single scribbled note. This soldier must be recognized. But why was this report such a shock to those who received it? Why did some officers read it twice, eyes wide, stunned into silence? What did this report say that would trigger a quiet wave of emotional messages from base to base, even prompting two soldiers in other divisions, Kim Taehyung and Jungkook, to pause their own training routines in disbelief? To understand this, we must first go back to the beginning of Jimin's enlistment and trace the delicate line between public perception, silent suffering, and unseen excellence. Jimin's enlistment, a journey wrapped in doubt and courage. When BTS's Park Jimin began his military service, speculation flew like sparks on dry wood. Some questioned whether the gentle-voiced idol, known for his grace on stage and vulnerability off it, would cope with the unforgiving demands of military life. Could he endure the grueling discipline, the rigid hierarchy, the physical strain? Rumors, as they always do, painted dramatic pictures. That he was struggling, that he had fainted, that he cried alone in his bunk at night. None of these were confirmed, yet none of them faded. But through it all, Jimin stayed silent. He did not reply. He did not post. He did not let even a shadow of emotion reach the outside world. To fans, his silence was heartbreaking. To fellow soldiers, it became something else entirely, a sign of a quiet warrior finding his rhythm. Little did anyone know that while the world speculated, Jimin was quietly rising to a level of excellence that would leave even seasoned officers awestruck. The secret test Jimin aced without anyone noticing. It wasn't just that Jimin completed his drills. It wasn't just that he passed his physical tests or endured the biting cold of field operations with no complaints. It was the way he did it. There was an exercise known among soldiers as the breaker, a brutal 18-hour field navigation test where recruits must survive in near-complete isolation, rely only on a compass, their instincts, and a meager ration pack. Most finish it exhausted, bruised, mentally worn. Many fail. But Jimin didn't just complete it, he did it faster than anyone in his batch. More impressively, he found and assisted two fellow soldiers who had veered off course and were dangerously close to hypothermia. He used his outer jacket to wrap one of them while guiding the other back, refusing to leave them behind. When asked why he did it, his answer, relayed in a debriefing report, was simple. Because I didn't want anyone to feel alone in the cold. I know what that feels like. A leader in the shadows. How Jimin earned respect silently. In military culture, leadership isn't declared, it's observed. Instructors began to notice something unusual. Other trainees naturally followed Jimin, even without orders. When rations were short, he shared his. When a rookie cried silently during night watch, it was Jimin who quietly handed over his gloves and whispered encouragement. He wasn't loud. He wasn't trying to impress. But his actions echoed. By the third week, Jimin was unofficially referred to by a nickname among his peers, the Warm Flame. Not because he was soft, but because he brought calm in chaos and light in hardship. The instructors noted it too. He's composed, one wrote. Doesn't flinch under pressure.
Displays Initiative.
Shows emotional intelligence beyond expectations. But the most surprising line in the final evaluation came from a senior officer who had been skeptical of celebrity soldiers in the past. He wrote, "If there's a soldier I would trust to lead a unit through crisis, it's this one. He has what we call command presence. That's rare, even among career officers." A sudden phone call and a message that broke Taehyung's composure 1 week ago. Kim Taehyung, stationed in a different unit, received a sudden call from a commanding officer. He was told of Jimin's commendation. First, he didn't react. But after listening to the full account of Jimin's heroic act during field navigation, Taehyung reportedly stepped out of his barracks quietly, holding his phone tightly, and sat alone under a tree for nearly an hour. Later that evening, a fellow soldier noticed that Taehyung had written something in his notebook and torn the page out. That paper, slipped into an envelope, was addressed to Jimin. What did it say? No one knows. But sources confirmed it was titled, "To My Little Star." That same night, Taehyung played a familiar tune on his harmonica, a song ARMYs know well. It was Promise. Listeners nearby said he played it with unusual emotion. Jungkook's unexpected reaction. A message and a misty-eyed pause. Jungkook, known for his strength and endurance in training, reacted in his own way when he heard the news. According to a fellow recruit, Jungkook had been finishing a long march when he received a verbal message from his senior. He stopped in his tracks, repeated "Park Jimin," and stood there for a moment, lips slightly parted. That night, instead of sleeping early as usual, Jungkook reportedly requested late-night phone writing privileges, normally allowed for sending letters of gratitude. He stayed up writing. Then, in a moment of rare vulnerability, he asked a nearby soldier, "Do you think people like us can be proud of each other, even in here?" When the soldier replied yes, Jungkook only smiled faintly and said, "Then I think I'm proud of him. Really proud." ARMYs respond, "We always knew he was a warrior." When news of Jimin's recognition began to leak into public forums, through whispered confirmations, unofficial social media murmurs, and vague hints from those connected to the camps, the response was seismic. Fans began trending hashtags like #ProudOfJimin and #SergeantPark. One fan wrote, "They said he wasn't strong enough for this. Turns out he was stronger than all of us." Another posted a collage of Jimin's stage photos alongside a blurry image of a soldier in training gear, captioned simply, "He danced through fire. Now he walks through storms." The emotional resonance struck hard. Especially after months of worry about his health and well-being, the confirmation that Jimin wasn't just surviving but thriving felt like a collective exhale for millions. A letter from the base. The surprise that no one saw coming. In an even more stunning turn, the military's public relations office confirmed that Jimin would be part of a short documentary segment highlighting exemplary soldiers in service. While details remain confidential, insiders reveal that Jimin's segment will focus on resilience, leadership, and emotional fortitude. A portion of the documentary will reportedly include a private letter Jimin wrote to his parents, and a surprising voiceover by a fellow soldier who says Jimin helped him find reason to keep going. And here's the twist. The soldier providing the voiceover? His name hasn't been released, but clues suggest he was one of the 2 men Jimin saved during the field test. The future. What this means for BTS and for Jimin. As BTS continues their service journey, the lines between their celebrity personas and their military identities are beginning to blur in the most powerful way. They're not just stars, they are serving their country with quiet dignity and fierce dedication. For Jimin, this chapter may mark the beginning of a new kind of legacy, one not forged on stage under spotlight, but in the silent courage of early dawn drills and quiet moments of sacrifice. And for Taehyung and Jungkook, their smiles, rare, authentic, captured only in brief glimpses within the barracks, speak volumes about the love they hold for their brother. So here's the question that lingers in every ARMY's heart. If Jimin can rise like this in silence, in hardship, away from our cheers, what more is he capable of becoming when he returns to us? Because now we know, Park Jimin is not only a dancer, a singer, a performer. He's a soldier, a brother, a leader, and perhaps the heart of BTS. Emotional letters to Jimin in more depth?